Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I am your hostess, Dr. Anita Raja. Let's Talk, a program designed to discuss social issues, real life issues, and a program to discuss our problems of the society. Today, once again, we're going to discuss a very important topic in the first part of our program, which is to do with joblessness, how we can overcome this problem, and how we've been affected by it. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us. Our number is 019-24231-083. Our WhatsApp number is on our screens as well, so you can send us a WhatsApp message so we can include that as part of our live show, which is 075-85-835-150. As we know, the pandemic has hit us hard, and many of us have lost our jobs. A lot of job insecurity is around us at the moment. And unfortunately, if we look at the statistics, they are quite dire, especially for people from the BAME community. 58% people from the BAME community are suffering from job insecurities at the moment. And shockingly enough, most of these people, 80% of them are from Bangladesh, and the rest 58% are Pakistanis. And if you look at the numbers, even more astounding, women are far more affected than men. So 52% women have lost their jobs, are in some sort of financial crisis, and out of them, 70% are Asian women. So it's very important for us to know how we can help ourselves. At the moment, in the first segment, we have invited lovely Miska Khatun, who is a Jobcentre Plus coach and works for DWP, the Department for Works and Pensions. Welcome, Miska.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Miska, first of all, when we invited you, there was quite some interesting information around where it was being said that now we've got Jobcentre Plus work coaches who are working via a website, which helps people get jobs. Could you tell us a bit more about this website and how it works?
Yeah, so it's part of the government scheme, Find a Job, and basically it's accessible by anybody. You don't have to be part of a claimant, so you don't have to be claiming benefits or anything like that. You're basically able to access the website through digital means, be it a mobile phone, a laptop, tablet, but it's accessible for everybody, and there are services on there that is accessible for everybody as well.
Okay, and in terms of you being a Jobcentre Plus work coach, what is your role?
Okay, so I work with universal credit claimants. So most of our customers, not everybody, but mass majority of people who have claimed universal credit, and especially during the pandemic, have been through job loss. So my role basically starts from the beginning, right the way from the claim itself, and then making assessments of what their needs are. And then we discuss together how we're going to meet those needs, right the way to when they get a job, apply for a job, get the job, and then we're supporting them on the job as well. So it will start with basic things like skills assessment. So what skills they've got. A lot of people have come out of jobs that they've been in for years and years. So they're under the sort of impression that, I can't do anything else. I've been in this role all my life. Well, the reality is you can. You have so many skills that are transferable. So we're there to help them identify and then apply those transferable skills into a new role, which they'll be, just as successful in.
That sounds very, very helpful. Now, when you talk about transferable skills, for instance, if you look at retail, lots of jobs have been lost there, hospitality, you look around and you'll see lots and lots of departments where jobs have sadly gone, and people have been made redundant, or people have lost their jobs and become jobless. How do you teach them these skills, and how are they transferable? Do you have any examples?
Yeah, so customer service, they in retail, customer facing, customer service. We can then apply those same sort of skills into a role where they'll be serving customers, but perhaps it'll be over the phone. Perhaps it'll be via Zoom calls like this. But in a different setting, it might not be. So if they were perhaps in a retail clothes store, they might move across to customer service, let's say for Vodafone or Sky, or one of those kinds of services which are still in that industry. So it's still retail, still serving customers, still meeting the demands of customers. But then we'd retrain or identify skills. Okay, so before it was face to face. So how do we now transfer those skills that you've got onto an online or a telephone format?
So is there any sort of specific funding where you actually help these people in certain ways?
Yes.
For instance, if they want to, oh, perfect. So can you tell us a bit more about that then?
Yeah, so there's quite a few. For our youth, our young people of the country, we've got currently what's called the Kickstart Scheme. Now, this Kickstart Scheme kicked in last August. And these are paid 6-month roles for anybody from the age of 18 to 24 who are being given the opportunity to get into a workplace, into roles that previously would have required experience. But these roles are being created on the basis that our young people haven't got the experience or haven't had the opportunity to get that experience. And it's beneficial, not just the employees, but the actual business owners as well. They get access to a huge pond of individuals who perhaps normally they wouldn't be able to access. There's the apprenticeship scheme, which is open to older range, 18 on upwards. Obviously, we've got the apprenticeship website and people can just look through those vacancies and apply for those. So that'll be apprenticeships paid on the job, but having training and qualifications. We've got the JETS program, which is job entry targeted support. It's a light touch employment program for people who have been out of work and either claiming universal credit or job seekers allowance. And it lasts for 13 weeks. We've got SWAPs, which are sector-based work academic programs. So you know how I was saying that people might not necessarily have the experience or might not be able to identify their transferable skills. Well, these programs are usually between 5 and 10 days. They do a piece of training and it'll be upskilling basically. So transferring the skills that they've got already for a different role. So they might have gone from retail to care perhaps, or they might have gone from construction to security. So they do the training for 5 to 10 days, let's say, and now it's all pretty much going back to normal face-to-face, and at the end of it they would sit exams or any kind of sort of paperwork-based examination, and then usually we have on board a couple of employers who will give them a guaranteed interview with some of the job roles that they offer based on the swap that they've done.
That sounds very, very supportive. I mean, I think that's certainly something that we need, especially for younger people who've missed out a lot. In the pandemic, we've seen that people have struggled, especially people who've been going to colleges, universities. The opportunity has not been there. And of course, there's been a lot of isolation for people. You did mention that, there are lots of children who can, people who between the age of 18 and above who can apply for these job roles. But in terms of interest, how much interest have you seen since these openings?
Oh, we've had huge numbers. The Kickstart, like I said, the Kickstart kicked in last November, but we're still getting new employers coming on board daily in their hundreds. So that's really sort of says the success of the campaign. So jobs have been filled, and then some of the same employers are actually coming back for more for more of our customers to start in their jobs. We've had one company that I worked with locally, internet-based company, who has 6 starters in April, and then they just come back to my job centre, Hanley Job Centre, and they want another 6. So the successes are there, and they are amazing opportunities, and our young people are thriving. And it is the case that sometimes you just give them the chance, and they can do so much, and that's what we're doing.
Miska, this is so positive, whatever you're telling us. This is certainly music to our ears. We want to hear that we are moving in a positive direction. And of course, we want a positive outcome from this. Now, in terms of waiting time, so if somebody is interested in being part of any of these schemes, for example, the JET scheme, how long do they have to wait before they can get enrolled?
Well, once we've done the initial assessment, the JET schemes, they can go on pretty much once we've done the referral. So that can be done on the same day. Obviously, it just depends on the work coach's workload on that day. But inshallah, most of the time, we do try and get it done on the same day. The referral is done, handed over to the program, who's the company who support the program, and they're within a couple of days they are contacted and they're started on the programs. The swaps, the sector-based work academy program, so they will be sort of deadline. So it might be that we do the referral today, but the program starts, let's say, in a week's time, but the customers will be aware when, where, etc. But yeah, they're running constantly. With the JETs, there's no start and end, as in we have to hit targets on that day. We refer the customers, and they're given individual people to work with, and then started on the program.
In terms of the uptake rate, what would you say? Like, if people come and apply for these programs, do they actually show up at the end? How many people don't show up?
Well, it swings around, but I don't want to say yes, everybody attends, and I don't want to say that those that don't attend did attend because lack of trying on our behalf. But I will say, because what we offer is
dear viewers, as we are talking with Miska, there's one thing that is very important, and that one important thing is asking for help. So if you feel that this applies to you as well, and you're struggling with work, then I guess this is a very important show for you. You can be part of this show and can ask Miska any question you like by calling us on 019-24231-083. You can also join the conversation by sending us a WhatsApp. The number is on your screens. It's time for a break. Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Dr. Anita Raja. We've got lovely Miska Khatun here with us, who is a Jobcentre Plus coach and is giving us vital information as to how we can get back into work if you're struggling financially, if we're struggling to find a job, especially with the pandemic around. We've seen lots and lots of people lose their jobs. Sadly, women have been worse affected. And if we look at women, 70% of the women who've lost their jobs are South Asian. So it is important that we sort of look into ways to get back into normal life, to lead a happier, better life for ourselves and our children.
Really positive, and it is making an impact that people are, taking these schemes up and these programs of learning and upskilling. So, like I say, people that are claiming universal credit are claiming for a reason. They've come out of work, and there's nothing worse, really. If you've been in work for a long time and out of nowhere you've lost your job, you've got homes to support, you've got families to provide for, they're going to do it. There's no question about it. You have to apply to these things, and you have to fulfill them in order to get that job that you definitely need. For financial reasons, even if you're a single person, no one can live off benefits as such. You do need to be out there applying for jobs, and at the moment these things are on offer and they are being taken up.
You said something that really I found it very, very important. It was something that's a very important message, something really, really vital. You said that it's important for people to get back into work so they can lead a normal, healthy life where they can, look after their children, their families, and be happier. However, we see that many people sit down and do their calculations and feel, why should we go back into work if they've been out of work for such a long time? What message do you have for them?
Well, what I found as a work coach, as a parent, providing for my children, you are always going to be better off working than you are on, whatever form of benefits that you're going to be on. You have so much more opportunities while you're working as well. It's not just earning and staying on that fixed wage. You have the opportunities to increase your wage. You have the opportunity to set an example for your children, for their future, to show them that, working is the way forward. Working brings in, these things. It allows us to develop. It allows us to purchase things that we previously haven't been able to. Yes, you will still be able to manage on the benefits or the amount of finance that you get through benefits. But it shouldn't just stop there. It shouldn't be about just managing. It should be fulfilling things in life, having targets and aims. And like I say, you will always be far more better off working than you will be on benefits. And yeah, even doing those financial figures. If you look at it in the long run, if you've got two adults in one household, both of them working will be a lot better than, not working.
It's an excellent message. Miska, another thing that we looked at when we're looking at the figures were that women were far more affected than men. Do you think there's any reason for this?
I think perhaps women in our sort of ethnic minority groups were badly affected because of the area of work that they've been in. Perhaps previously they've been in jobs that didn't require as many skills base, or like I say, the roles have come to an end perhaps in retail and such areas. But what the pandemic has brought to light and has given women the opportunity now is to retrain, reskill. They don't have to go for those basic jobs. The Jobcentre, job help campaigns, they are giving women the opportunities to take hold of these retraining schemes and go back and get your maths and English, go back and retrain in a different field. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And this is the perfect opportunity to do that. The funding is there. The funding is available to everybody as long as you are going through the Jobcentre and things like that. The funding is there for you. It's not decided upon whether you're female, male, old, young, black, white. It's there for you. All you need to do is apply for it and attend the sessions and pick up those skills, and those skills can then open the doors to so many jobs and so many areas of work that perhaps you wouldn't have ever dreamt of doing previously.
So, Miska, in terms of sort of uptake, if 80 people apply for these courses, will all 80 get an opportunity and then get a job? I mean, if you look at your figures from your end, how successful do you think it is?
The swaps are definitely very successful, and they're so successful that we're running them back to back. So let's say we've got this week coming up, we've got a SIA, which is a security swap. It's full. It's run for 2 weeks. And then because this one was so successful and it's been booked, we've got another company on board who are going to run one the week after. Different company altogether, but obviously the layout of this the program is the same. And both are offering up to 3 employers each with a guaranteed interview with jobs. So yeah, they are successful and the jobs are out there. They really are out there and the opportunities are out there. It's just we need people to take those and make use of those opportunities. There's no point in letting them go through your hands. If you're told by your work coach, you can do this, you can do that, do it all. Do it all. take your time, do it all, and then start applying for those jobs.
That's excellent advice. Now, we've got many challenges, especially from people from the BAME community. One of them would be a language barrier. In terms of people who have been doing jobs where they did not make much use of their language, but then now they're jobless, how can you help them?
Well, we've got ESOL courses now, depending on where you live and the size of the community, but most communities will have colleges and schools, and they will have community colleges that run ESOL. So they should initially do you a assessment, and they'll an individual might think that they have very little spoken English, but in reality, once you're actually assessed by somebody, you might actually be quite amazed as to how much you actually know. It's just you've not had the opportunity to practice that spoken English side of things. So they'll do the assessment, and then they'll put you on your level 1, your level 2, or your level 3. And then going forth from that, then they'll perhaps look at your maths and English, or they'll move you on to a different area. So if you perhaps wanted to now look into administration, they would help you with that. But the ESOL would be offered free to the individual, and then it would be a case that you could either do the level 1 and you find that you're fine, you're happy, or you'd want to complete the course up to level 3. But it is available there for everybody who needs it.
Okay, and in terms of campaigns, the key for a success for any campaign, the key to success is advertisement. Do you think that everyone, especially within the BAME community, the Pakistani Bangladeshi community, is aware of this opportunity at present?
I believe sort of through campaigns like this, it is being brought to light. As you've mentioned, that the Bangladeshi community has the highest number.
Yeah.
So I think targeted campaigns like this is making that impact, and will play part of that. But I do think that there is a need to sort of focus on the areas where there is the higher numbers, and perhaps using work coaches like myself, who is from the Bangladeshi community, BAME community as well, to pass that message on. But yeah, I think there is definitely with the DWP job help campaign as well. We are getting there. It's not there yet, but we are making the right steps towards getting to that sort of target market.
Yeah, because it's a golden opportunity, and it would be a shame if people are not aware of it. And as you've rightly said, it's an opportunity for them to change their lives completely, get back on track, especially if they have been affected by the pandemic. Our youth, which has suffered due to the pandemic, has not had the opportunity to come forward due to the pandemic. Do you think that the local imams and the masjids that we've got, the mosques, could play a role in spreading the message, the word about your lovely campaign?
Yes, definitely. They're like the center of all of our communities. Our family members, male family members and female members of the family, attend mosques 5 times a day. So they are perfect settings where that message can be spread across. It could be a simple case of flyers, or even on Jummah on Fridays. There is no harm of mentioning these things, because it is something for the community, and that's what the mosques is there for: service to the community, and service where the community can help themselves, and in helping themselves, they're helping everybody else as well. So yeah, definitely the front face of the mosque is definitely something that we could really take sort of grasp off and make full use of.
Certainly. Miska, because you work so closely with people who are struggling with their jobs, what has been your biggest challenge in motivating people and asking them to come forwards and rehabilitate themselves?
I think with the COVID sort of impact, a lot of it has been mental health. People have been in jobs for years and years. They've just they've lost their livelihoods, and because they have been in the same job for such a long time, trying to get them to imagine that they could move into something so different to what they've done before is daunting. Is really, really is daunting, especially for our women, like you say, because they are the biggest area where they've lost the jobs and things. Just trying to get them motivated, but that comes with time. So it doesn't come in one appointment. It doesn't come in two. It comes slowly, but inshallah, with the right help and then the right program of support, it is achievable. So I think really it's the mentality and the mindset. If we can overcome that, then anything is possible.
And when you deal with women who come for help and, want to find a new job, do you feel that they get the sort of support that they need from their family members and their community?
I think in general, yeah.
The second section is going to be after this break. If you want to be part of it, you've got our number on your screens. It's time for a break. Welcome back to Let's Talk. I am Dr. Anita, your hostess for tonight. And as promised, the idea of doing this show is to discuss issues which are close to our heart.
They recognise that they needed the support in the first place, and that's why they've put in for the request for help, financial help from the benefits. So if these women have been working and providing for such a long time, that's what they've always been doing. So the families are supporting them for them to carry on doing that. So yeah, most cases, yeah, they are supportive and they are encouraging. Actually, when I've referred people to do the ESOLs and stuff, and they've come with their children and they're like, oh, Mum's done this job for such a long time, but now she's actually focusing on learning and doing something for herself. So she's doing her ESOL, she's done the maths and English. Now she can do a job that she perhaps didn't think of before, and it makes them so proud, not just the individual, but their family members. You can see the pride that they have for their mums, their aunties, their grandparents, So yeah, they're definitely support from home.
In the end, if there is a message, Miska, that you want to give our viewers, if you want to say something, what would it be?
I would say, do not let go of any opportunity given to you. Even if you think this is time consuming, it's going to take me such a long time to do it, the end results will be so worth it. Honestly, please carry on with those courses, attend those classes, apply for that job, practice those interview skills, practice those sort of CV questions or interview questions. Go out there, do the voluntary work, whatever it takes. Just take grasp of every opportunity given to you. It may not come around again, you might not be able to do it again. So while you've got those opportunities, take full hold of them and, make those small steps for big steps.
Miska, thank you so much for taking out your precious time to be part of our show. I'm hoping that many of our viewers have now been enlightened with the information out there and the opportunity out there. Thank you very much. Viewers, we've had such a lovely chat with Miska today. The idea was to give you a bit more information about the opportunities out there in terms of the Job Help website. So if you are struggling and cannot find a job, log on now. All you need is a tablet and an internet, a computer. You can even do it from your mobile phone. So do not miss this opportunity. As promised, we have 2 sections to this program. Before I introduce my second guest, I would urge you to seek support if any of the topics from today's show trigger you. The next topic we're going to discuss is racism at work. And if you feel that you have been affected by this, or if you feel that our show, our topic for today is going to trigger you in any way, you can see on your screens of your support from British Muslim TV support, and you can get support from us. And we're here for you because the idea is that we talk about these issues and we do something about them. So our viewer for today is Mahdiyah Bandali. Welcome, Mahdiyah. You're a paramedic. I am so pleased to have you on our show today.
Hi, assalamu alaikum, jazakallah for having me. Amazing to have this opportunity.
Mahdiyah, your story is intriguing. So you are a Muslim, you're from the BAME community, and you're a paramedic. So my first question to you is, how did you decide that you wanted to become a paramedic?
I think this is like the question everyone asks me. Like many others, I thought paramedics were just, like the glorified taxi drivers. I thought that they just take people to hospital. And I think it's one of those senses. I think as people, it's only natural to want to integrate into familiarity. Paramedicine seemed the unthinkable, not because I thought that I wouldn't be able to get in, just because I thought that I wouldn't be accepted. And I'd never seen a paramedic who looked like me or even was the same skin tone as me. Whenever I thought of paramedics, I just thought of white burly men with big muscles, and never could consider myself in that role. And then my schooling, I went to a very traditional school that kind of always put medicine, dentistry, law as sort of the areas that people should apply to. And I never thought I would get into paramedicine. I was interested in medicine as a whole. And when you apply for medicine, you have one backup choice. And I remember it was on the very last day of UCAS, and I was scrolling through all the UCAS options, and I saw paramedic science, and I thought, oh, what's that? So I had a little read of it, and it just seemed me on paper. It was hands-on experience, emergency medicine, and it just seemed identical to everything that my personal statement was saying. And I just thought, you know what, I might as well apply for this. And then I got my interview, and during my interview, we went around the university, and they sort of told us a little bit about the course, and they told us that, on the very first day, you'll be expected to, go out on the roads dealing with real patients. And I just fell in love with it from then, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it because it's something that I'm really passionate about. And alhamdulillah, it's gone so well, and I always say that I'm constantly in love with pre-hospital care and paramedicine. I think it's one of the most amazing aspects of medicine, and yeah, I'm always so thankful to Allah for putting me in this sort of situation.
Mahdiyah, can I just say the respect we have for you and your team of workers is unbelievable. The job you do, the work you do, it's second to none, really. And I want to tell you that for us doctors, I'm a GP myself, but any doctor, any nurse would think that you are the real superheroes, especially with all the things that you do, the way you bring patients to the hospital, the way you care for the patients on their way. I mean, it's unimaginable, the effort that you put in. So I must congratulate you into getting into the right profession. I mean, it's excellent. I was just going to sort of touch a more sensitive side of this. So, you were applying for, paramedicine, and you thought, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to become a paramedic. And then you ended up becoming one. How was this experience different to what you had expected it to be?
I didn't expect that I would stand out so much. So I remember on my very first day of walking into my ambulance station, and I don't know whether it was just the fact that I was 5'1", walking into a room full of 6-foot+ men. However, the fact that I stuck out so much like a sore thumb in my ambulance station, I was the only one who was a hijabi, Muslim, of the BAME community. And it was that shock that oh my gosh, no one looks like me, and that constant fear of, is anyone actually going to accept me, or am I ever going to fit in? And I think I always get these sorts of questions from my community. People are always confused as to whether I actually feel like I do fit in, or whether it's just a constant struggle for me. However, I think it's just so important to be yourself in these situations. And yeah, it was a struggle at the start. However, alhamdulillah, it's been okay so far, despite the hurdles and the obstacles.
Mahdiyah, we already have a question here So from a viewer, which is quite nice. It's always nice to have these live questions because it makes our show so much more beautiful. And the question is, hello, Dr. Anita. I just want to say thank you for having this conversation. Mahdiyah is so brave and inspirational, and it's a very important conversation. My question is, how do you cope being a paramedic? Must be very challenging and at times hard to stomach.
I think everyone says it takes a certain type of person to be a paramedic, and I think to some extent I agree with them. The long shift times, the fact that it is antisocial hours. A lot of times I'm working night shifts. I hardly get to see my family a lot of the time because, you know, with having to wake up at like 4 a.m. in the morning or coming back at 6 a.m. in the morning and having to sleep during the day, it's difficult. And then the sights that you see on the road, I won't make it out like it's all big car crashes and heart attacks and people dying constantly, because it really isn't. A lot of what we go to is primary care. And hence why a lot of paramedics are going into GP surgeries now as well, because a lot of the roles that we play right now is to do with primary care. But I think it's the passion that keeps, I think, the profession moving forward. A lot of people think that pre-hospital care, they really feel passionate about it. And I think that's the most important thing, that people struggle to find so much within life. And I think I consider myself lucky to have found it at such a young age. And this is kind of what moves me forward in the profession. And I think despite the obstacles, that's what keeps driving me forward.
No, it's so lovely to hear all this, because as you've said, you are very lucky to have found the profession that you like. However, you have faced many challenges as well. Now, you have mentioned that when you walked in the first day, you thought, well, you know, how will I fit in? But you haven't told us what the response from your colleagues was and how they have accepted you and how your journey has been so far. So yes, you were a bit insecure about fitting in and how will you do this? But then how was the working environment? Were they accepting of you?
I think one first has to look at the history of paramedicine. So it's quite army centric. We have a very our history is of the army, so paramedics were initially within the army, so we expect it to be quite a white dominated profession. It was quite male dominated, however now I think it's about the current uni applicants are around 50-50 with lots of females coming into the course, so that will have its struggles initially, because first of all it was just seen as a man's profession, and then that too a white man's profession. So coming into it as a female Muslim, it's like I was kind of defying all the odds. And with that came a lot of hurdles. I remember my very first day of walking into the ambulance station and I asked for a place to pray. And I was immediately told, who do you think you are coming into this station and thinking that you own the place? And that kind of set the tone for me as to what to expect. A lot of times there would be a lot of racist comments hidden under the name of banter. I would be told, oh, what kind of bomb have you brought for us today? Or just constant racist comments. When I was fasting, people would make comments such as, oh, go on, have a bite of this bacon sandwich. We're not going to tell anyone. And people wouldn't realize what I'm standing for as a Muslim woman. And I think that's what really makes people scared to apply for these roles. But I think as Muslim females, we have so many inspirational role models, and these are the kind of the people that pushed me forward. I didn't have much support when I was a student. However, now as finding kind of my own niche, I've managed to find that support for myself.
It's time for us to take a break. We're going to continue this conversation after this break. Viewers, our numbers on your screens. If you want to be part of this conversation, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Dr. Anita Raja. We are talking about racism in workplace. If you are a woman, a Muslim, cover your head. Where do you stand in today's world and in different departments, even if it's the health department? Viewers, if you feel that any of these topics are triggering you today in any way, we are here to offer you support. You can see it on your screens, British Muslim TV support. And the idea is to offer you the support that you require, because many of us may have been affected by racism at some point in our lives.
But beforehand, I think the one thing that kept me going was my religion. Seeing our role models such as Bibi Khadija, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad, Bibi Fatima. We have so many inspirational role models who led Islam just in the hands of a woman. And it kind of told me that, you know, if they could do it, and they pushed themselves out of their comfort zones. People like Bibi Khadija, she was a female entrepreneur in a world where only men were really thriving in business. And the fact that she could do it, it kind of told me as a position, in my position as a Muslim female, that I can do the same and I can make my mark in something that I'm really passionate about. And I'm not going to let people's comments or people's thoughts stop me from doing this. I think it was really difficult initially because I felt like I constantly had to be a representation for Muslim people. I felt like people were constantly watching me. Like every sort of move I'd make, I felt that I was constantly having to represent what Muslims stand for.
Yeah, you know, when we think about a Muslim woman, somehow we think about suppressed, someone who can't stand up for herself, someone who can't fend for herself. Whereas you have once again reiterated what Islam means for a woman. So yeah, you were giving us you know, the example of how you actually managed to cope at that time. So yes, go on, tell us about it.
Add in what I was saying before is the fact that we have these amazing role models, and yet sometimes we ourselves get caught up in what the media says about Muslim women. We kind of, when it's kind of shoved down our throat so much that we're oppressed and things, then we start to just be scared of pushing ourselves so much. We start to get used to being in our comfort zones, and I think it's so important that we stop doing this. I think as Muslim women especially, when we're put into a situation where we can debunk these myths, and I myself in my workplace was put into that situation where I was working with people who had so many previous thoughts of how Muslim people are, and I was put into that special position where I can tell them that no, it's not like this. And therefore, even though I do feel like constantly I have to keep up that role of representation, I also think that I'm also put into a very special place where I can start challenging the stereotypes that so many people put for hijabis and Muslim women. And I think that if we can start working from it from the grassroots, then maybe media's perception, societal perceptions of Muslims can start changing because of it.
Yeah, certainly. And the idea of doing this show is to talk about this, isn't it? This is the first step forward. You're doing your bit by working as a paramedic and you know, sending that message out across every single day. Now, when I was a GP trainee, I was doing a psych rotation, and I was in a predominantly white area at that time. Caucasian people, Caucasian patients, and very elderly patients. And I remember once a patient refused to take medications that I was prescribing because they thought that I wasn't competent enough because of my color. Have you had any incidents where you have been facing abuse from patients because of your color, because of being Muslim, because of being hijabi?
I think, so I've had many instances where people have either denied care from me or denied any help from me, or just plain not wanted me to step into their houses. I think sometimes if you're based in a hospital or an outside area, people will be more careful of what they say to you. However, the one thing that I can't choose about my job is I have to go into anyone's house or anyone's place of environment where they feel comfortable to say whatever they want to say. And therefore, I've gone into some areas, some people's houses where either people have told me I can't enter their house because they don't want a Muslim coming into their house. I've been physically abused. I got punched once in my shoulder because someone said that they don't want a filthy Muslim touching them. And a lot of people just being so verbally aggressive. I was recently told by a patient that they don't want an F word, P word touching them. And it's just shocking that people still think these things. And as an individual, it makes you feel very unsafe going into people's houses. And so many times I've rethought the sort of decision I made to become a paramedic because of the unsafety of it. But then I think just that passion keeps me going for it. But yeah.
It's horrific. I mean, it's absolutely horrific to hear that someone has the courage to actually touch you as well, hurt you, harm you. You know, if this happens, I mean, is there any sort of robust system in place that protects you at work, or do you get any sort of debriefing from a supervisor or a manager? What exactly happens if something like this occurs?
Often colleagues are really supportive. So I've had so many great colleagues who've, had chats with me after about maybe racial incidents. And there's a lot of support in terms of work. My workplace that I currently work in is super supportive. And there are certain schemes within the NHS where you can report certain incidents like this. However, I guess from that incident where it happens, no one can change that happening. It's just happened. And whilst we can reduce it, it still happens again and again and again because you can't change people's thoughts. But I think what we can do is just stand our ground. I've never let anyone affect me to the point where I've tried to consider maybe taking off my hijab or acting in a different sort of way because of what someone has said. One thing that I guess coming back to Islam, one thing that really helps me, especially when I was faced with the most recent verbal abuse comment that I mentioned, in the month of Muharram that we are in right now, there was an incident that happened where Lady Zainab, the granddaughter of the Prophet, after facing so much atrocity and injustice, where her brother and her family got martyred, she said to the person who was the cause for all this injustice and hate, she said, "I see nothing but beauty." And in the face of so much animosity and oppression, she stood by the ground that despite that so much hate happening, her brother died for the fact that he stood against injustice, and that's why she saw the beauty. And that verse has always constantly been with me, and I always remind myself of that whenever something bad happens on shift. I remind myself of the fact that, you know what, I'm standing against this injustice and I'm standing against that oppression. And maybe my appearance even into this person's house will say that, you know what, not all Muslims are what you think us to be. We're not all ISIS or the Taliban. Those are not even what I'd class as Muslims. So, and I've had it from colleagues. People have said comments like, "Oh, I didn't realize that Muslims are like you." And I'm like, "What do you mean Muslims are like me?" And they say, "Oh, normal." Because people have so many different misconceptions about us. And I think as Muslims, we make it hard upon ourselves as well, because we don't push ourselves into environments. We're so used to sort of being with our own people and our own sort of cliques. But what we have to do, and even though it is a struggle, we have to put ourselves through that struggle, because that's the only way we can start fighting these misconceptions.
You know, in terms of support from your colleagues, you get that. What does your family think and say when something like this happens?
So yeah, my family, they have mentioned many times that, why don't you just come out of this profession? So a lot of the times my mum has said to me, I'm so scared all the time when you go on shift because I don't want something to happen to you. But then I think I'm very close to my community. So my mosque is like my community. And a lot of them will say the same sort of things. They're really scared. I'm the only paramedic within my mosque. And they'll say to me that we're really scared for you to go out into sort of situations like this. But then I remind them of what I can do as a Muslim in this workplace. I've been so lucky to be one of the change makers within the NHS. I've been able to share what's been happening and start fighting against this and work and be a role model for so many hijabis who are in similar positions such as me. So I think that slowly my family are coming to terms that, you know, this is what Islam really stands for. And I think in some way that they are proud of me.
Of course they are. I mean, I think whoever is watching this, including my producer, everyone is, I'm sure, very proud of you, because you've done what many women cannot do. I mean, I'll be honest, when this occurred to me, when this happened to me, I was, I was upset, and I was upset for a long, long time. But you're still smiling, and you're still so strong, and you're courageous, and you've got the courage to still go out for that next shift without knowing what's going to happen. So it is really like being a warrior princess in this world, sort of trying to tell the world that we're not that bad, and trying to break all these misconceptions, isn't it? It's about telling the world that we're not what you think we are. We are kind. And that is what our religion teaches us. We're about to finish our show, Mahdiyah. In the end, very briefly, what is your message for anyone who's watching this show today?
Just make everyone realize that you are capable of so much. You're capable of achieving so much, and having a religion such as Islam to back you up and give you that courage and that confidence to be who you want to be puts us in such a special place. So use your religion as your strength, and use it as that tool to get you to what you want to be, and to get you to all the passions that you have. And reach out for support when you need it, because there is so much out there, and there's so many people who think like you and want to do the same things as you. But just realize how much strength you have within yourself, and inshallah you can achieve.
Inshallah, I'm pretty certain. Thank you so much, Mahdiyah, for being part of this show today. Viewers, I am so pleased that you joined us today. And as you know, the idea is to talk about topics which are very close to our heart. If you feel that you have been affected in any way, have been triggered due to any past events which were very disturbing, then you can contact us on British Muslims TV support. It's time for us to say bye. We'll catch you again next week, same time, same channel, same show.